welcome back to SQL Squared, where we chat about all things data development and the cool tech shaping our world. We love bringing on awesome folks to share their stories and insights. And speaking of awesome folks, today we've got a really special guest in the house and someone very special to me, Mike Hodson. Mike is a strong tech leader and has a real passion for data. Thank you so much for joining me, Mike.
What a great intro. Thank you, David. When I have to hire you to introduce me everywhere. Yeah. Pleasure to see you again, as always. And thank you very much for having me on. I'm looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, it's been a while since we saw each other last in person, playing snooker in Liverpool.
It has. That frame is still going on, I believe. the mammoth team game of snooker.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's good to see you again. Hopefully this will probably be quicker than that frame of snooker. Turned out to be.
Yeah, maybe we'll kind of get it cut down within an hour at least. All right. Today we're going to dive into Mike's journey, how he fell in love with data, and we'll get into some really practical stuff like Scrum and Agile. We'll also talk about how data is being used in recruitment, the latest with AI in data and development, and of course, what Mike's most excited about the future of data, as we always go into. It's going to be a great chat. So thanks again for joining me on the podcast, Mike. Do you want to go into a bit about yourself, your career journey, and your passion for data, I suppose?
Yeah. If I go for career journey then?
Yeah, go for it.
You obviously
start off with the career journey.
Yeah, so I'll explain it to you as if I've never met you.
Maybe most of the audience won't have met you, so go for it.
That's true. That is true. So career journey. If I start from end of education, official education. So maths degree, maths, stats, and operational research was the degree I got because I just enjoyed, as I'll touch on probably, all that kind of stuff up to that point in my life, numbers, data, stats, all that stuff. So just enjoyed it, had a bit of a natural talent for it. So just kept doing it basically till I ran out of road and had to get a job. And left uni with a maths degree. Like I think a lot of people, other than going and being a maths teacher, wasn't really sure what to do with it. And I didn't want to be a maths teacher just because I suppose similar to other people's experiences of maths teachers in general. Nothing against them, but I just didn't want to do that and didn't feel it was me. So got a job as a data manager, not too far away from where I lived, and it looked interesting, something new to learn. So SQL, but you could use some of the set theory, things like that from maths that crossed over. It was still stats, numbers, interesting stuff to me. So I thought, right, I'll try that for a bit. I'll try it for about 6 months and then, maybe use it as a springboard to go elsewhere. I remember being 6 months in and thinking, right, I'm 6 months in now. It's time for the springboard. Something like 18 years later, I'm still there and still enjoying it. It's never boring. It's probably the job. So the data is always changing, AI, etc. There's always something new around the corner. And recruitment is always changing. So the two together just make it an interesting place to work, and it's gone like that.
Which does. I feel the same. I think, I've got a lot less time in the job than you have, but still, it seems like yesterday, kind of when you started. And my journey was very, very similar. Didn't really want to go into data, to be honest, when I left university.
That surprises me.
Yeah, but I fell into the role and then grew to love it and never went back. But it's you get lucky, I suppose, falling into an industry that you really have a passion in and kind of things that you want to help improve and stuff that technology that excites you and keeps your job interesting.
I agree. I think we're lucky to be in this industry at this time, working with data. It's an exciting time, isn't it? Whichever way you look at it. I don't think anyone knows exactly what is going to be going on over the next few years, but it's going to be exciting to find out.
It will be.
You can't pretend it's not there.
No, and I think things are gonna skyrocket forward, and data will always be really important because we always need systems and processes that manage the information that runs our world. And that's kind of where the whole idea of SQL squared came from. So looking forward and seeing that we're going to need people in these roles, and younger generations, get them interested, and learning what it means to be a developer in the data space, because it's very different to being a developer in the software space, or working on websites, or UI and UX functionality, which a lot of people fall into, especially after doing like computer science degrees and things like that.
Yeah, it's a different role and a different kind of way of finding it, I think, usually, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the people I know that are in data haven't come in through that way, really. The way that you have, I suppose, the computer sciences route.
Yeah, you kind of just fall into it. But I suppose if you've got a love for numbers and statistics like yourself, it's a natural stepping stone.
Yeah, I think I would have always ended up doing something in data. So when I was little, my dad was an accountant, so I was always sort of surrounded by numbers are important, whether it's financial or whatever. Played darts a lot when I was little as well. So I was in learn how to do times tables and averages and all that stuff really young. So and then just carried it on. So I sort of got probably carried away and obsessed with numbers and what you can do with them. And then now, like you said, data's just everywhere, isn't it? If you just keep your eyes and your ears open, there's always data to be collected, and there's always processes that can be optimized or improved. I think you're on a safe bet with a podcast on data.
Yeah.
Future proof.
That's good. Keeps me in a job. So what about current day then? So what are you doing at the moment? What's your job title? What are your responsibilities?
Yeah, good question. So I came in at the current place as a data manager, which was really it was a good learning experience, but it was running around putting fires out, really.
Yeah,
so it was we were kind of very, very low resource IT team trying to do everything. So it was a great learning experience, but it was very, very much in at the deep end. So it was learn the recruitment process and how that works in the industry, and also learn how all this other stuff works. We were doing the DBA role, I suppose the developer role, and the infrastructure bit. So there was, nights of rebooting servers and all that stuff, and wrestling with AD and taking computers apart and all that stuff. So I've had quite a good introduction to it all from every angle, whilst everything's on fire.
Yeah.
So it kind of stands you in good stead for everything else that follows, I would say. You got a good base.
It's important. I think, especially in the age of AI now, which is, you can say pros and cons, especially for junior people getting into the space. But it's a lot more protected. You're not it depends, I suppose, what businesses you go into, but for people starting off in their career, I can't imagine it's as fast paced or as problematic. Things necessarily aren't as urgent as they would have been in the past, because they've got systems to manage it. But I think, it kind of gives you a good foundation, sets you up strongly for future career development.
It did with me, definitely. So I had that as the base level 1 kind of thing, and then progressed to SQL developer. So a bit more proactive and a different role, more coding, and less things on fire, slightly less things on fire. And then SQL team lead. So then line management responsibilities as well, where you get good enough at a role that you then put in charge of the people who do that role, but you're now doing a different role. So that thing, the hybrid thing. And then Scrum Master is where I've ended up. So there was a gap in our project management. What we were finding was we were having really good days and weeks and then getting to the end of the month and realizing we'd not actually added any value. We'd not really delivered anything.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know why for a long time. And it was because there was a gap between what we were doing and what the business needed us to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of got sucked into that gap, was interested in it, found Agile, and thought, right, this is it. I can see how this is going to work. And then fast forward a few more years, and yeah, certified Scrum Master with the Scrum Alliance. So I've gone very leaned into it heavily.
Yeah, a lot of the basics and foundations about Agile development and Scrum from you. And, I've taken it forward into future roles and implemented it just as you did, really. Maybe with a few tweaks based on the team, because it's always got to be, geared towards the team that you work in and the people that are in it and things like that. You can't just kind of take a blank template approach and slap it down. You've got to make changes. But yeah,
that's one of the things I like about it as well, is that it's pretty lightweight and adaptable.
Yeah,
so
flexible.
I've not used the word agile there on purpose, but I agree. It's I like how it's not whack people over the head with a big textbook. Yeah. You've got to do it like this. You can use common sense, I think.
Yeah, it's the continuous improvement approach. The retrospectives, figuring out what you've done wrong, what you've done right, and just constantly, it's like a moving train along the track that, you're constantly moving forward, building new carriages behind the train as you go on. Might not be the best metaphor. But,
it works for me. Yeah, I can see it. And I think ideally you'd be doing it with every area of your life, wouldn't you? Not just project. It just kind of makes sense to me that unless you step back and look at what you're doing every now and again and how you can maybe do it better or make it more enjoyable for yourself, you kind of like to go with your analogy, a train without a driver. You just rattling along the tracks.
Yeah, with no control. Well, I suppose just for our listeners, could you briefly explain what Scrum is and why it's so beneficial in development?
Yes. So if I start with the beneficial bit,
go for it.
I think it leans into what humans are good at, I think. So it's always felt to me like you're going with the grain when you're doing Scrum. And we've tried other ways of doing projects as well. So we did waterfall methods before we found Agile. And I found that more against the grain, things that humans just aren't as good at, in my experience. Writing big, long documentation, reading big, long documentation, interpreting other people's words correctly. You only need to see what happens on email chains to see that that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Can't it? Whereas with Scrum, everything written down anywhere is basically just a signpost for a conversation, because humans interacting with each other is the best way of understanding what people mean and where you need to go.
Yeah.
So until the robots take over, I'm still going to be saying humans working together is the best way of getting stuff done. Most fun, most straightforward, best solutions. So Scrum leans into all that stuff, I think. So they're the benefits, I would say.
That's a great description of the benefits. I could not have said it better myself.
In terms of what it is, so it's characterized by, the quick version is you've got 3 roles in Scrum, so it's straightforward. So you've got the product owner, who is the voice of the business. So they're the ones responsible for the whole thing actually adding value. If you're chopping trees down, but it's in the wrong forest, they're the ones that are supposed to go, you're doing a really good job chopping the trees down, but it's in the wrong forest. It should be over there. So that's what they're doing.
Wrong type of wood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you're on, say, the dev team, so one of the other roles is the dev team, and they're the ones doing the work. So in this analogy, I'll go with it now. These would be the ones chopping the wood.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't necessarily know if they're in the wrong forest. So they're the ones doing the work that are the closest to it. And then you've got the Scrum Master is the other role. So that's in my world, that's me, and that's the facilitator. So the one that keeps it all together and keeps it moving and keeps communication going. So the Scrum Master's, one of the main roles is get rid of any impediments that anyone that's stopping anyone, whether it's the product owner or the team. If someone's got an axe that's blunt, Scrum Master would sort that out. Yeah, exactly. The other thing to mention, probably sprints are the other thing that characterizes Scrum. Mm-hmm. So rather than you just keep working at something forever, or if you imagine a workload as like a big cliff face and you go, that's our work for the year, rather than do that, Scrum has sprints. So instead of a marathon, you do lots of shorter sprints. Mm-hmm. So usually 2 weeks, but it doesn't have to be. We do 2 weeks. For the 2 weeks, you chop off the cliff face, a small amount of work that you can do in 2 weeks, chopped up into little rocks, and then you just focus on them for 2 weeks and don't worry so much about the cliff face. And then after 2 weeks, you see what you've delivered, show it to the product owner, and then all together decide what you're going to do next. And I think there's loads of benefits to doing that. It helps people from getting burnt out or bored, because you're just doing sprints are more fun than a 1 year marathon. And it does things like limits risk to just the 2 weeks. If you've delivered completely the wrong thing and the product owner comes back from holiday and goes, that's terrible, it's only 2 weeks, rather than you could have spent a year on the cliff face. That's something. Lots of benefits.
I would say that's something a lot of people forget about with Agile, especially I think leaders. I've had multiple challenges in my current role. We don't have a Scrum Master, but we really try and push the development approach. So we kind of split the role between myself and 2 others, and we get a lot of complaints from leadership and management about delivery speed and sprints and kind of how much they see getting done. It's like they don't want to see it until a month's time, if that makes sense. Like they want more to be done before they see it. But when we're working in the Agile method, we want to make sure that we're minimizing risk and we're showing them as early on as possible. So it's kind of, to those that don't understand the process, thought of as a little bit of a negative sometimes, that you're not doing enough by the time they see it. And I suppose it might be just a frame of reference sort of problem, but I think the point of minimizing risk within your development pipeline, especially when you're trying to run a high-performing lean team, is a very important point.
I'm familiar with that problem that you just mentioned, the one of stakeholders, product owners, not really wanting to see anything until it's done, or until it's finished for them, because they've got to do a bit of extra work, haven't they, if they need to stay, etc. So that is some kind of, that's a pushback that I am familiar with. This thing of, I think people feel like they would rather work in a waterfall way, where they would kind of give you the spec. It would be perfect. It'd be perfectly understood. You'd go away and design it. Well, analyze it, design it, build it, test it, come back to them when it's completely done in, say, 6 months. And then they're assuming in the 6 months, the world's not changed. The environment's not changed. They're still in the same role. They still want the same thing. They feel exactly the same as they did 6 months ago. Yeah. It's going to be delivered exactly to the letter, and then they're going to see it and go, yes, that's exactly what I had in my head.
Yeah.
I don't think it's realistic. I think
I agree.
The better way of doing it is they stay along the way, and you need opportunities presented to them to stay, which means they have to see it before it's completely finished. So you're right. I think it is a framing thing and a context thing, that they still need to be involved, just in a slightly different way than they're probably expecting. Yeah. You do need time from stakeholders along the way to do Agile, because they're part of the team.
And I suppose that it brings me on to some of the challenges with adopting Agile, to be honest, because moving, we used to work together, moving away from your team, I didn't foresee really the challenge of adopting proper Agile development. I just kind of thought, this is the way it should be done. Why would we not do it that way? And when I moved to my new team, I didn't join as a senior or anything. I was just joined as a SQL developer, but I could see, based on my experience with you and in your teams, that they were doing things very inefficiently, and didn't have all of the fundamental processes in place. Even though they were kind of trying to do agile, and Scrum, they really weren't doing it. So I tried to force in a lot of change, a lot of improvement, and to be fair, over the 4 years since, it's totally transformed, and we've got everything kind of built into the business and the business processes and stuff now. But it was a challenge to begin. Yeah. One of the questions I want to ask you is, do you know of any of the biggest challenges teams face when they adopt an agile development process, and like how do, I suppose, the developers, the seniors, the leaders within the tech teams overcome any of those challenges?
Very good question. I feel for you having that experience of kind of feeling like you're banging your head against the wall. I think the winning hearts and minds thing is quite often the trickiest bit, isn't it? Rather than the technical bit, it's the people bit that can be harder. And I think it's hard to convince people that your thing that you're telling them is going to be amazing is better than what they think is amazing. It's hard to change their belief without actually showing them.
Yeah, that's what they're used to, I suppose, in some instances. Especially if you're changing process within a team that's been together for 5 or more years, where you're going in with the best of intentions, but it's, they're used to a certain way of working.
Yeah, if you just go in and go, the way you're all doing it is wrong. I know a better way. It's just not going to go well, is it? No, you need to build trust first, don't you? And then say, how about doing it this way? So there's that whole thing, which you could probably do an hour on that, the how to take people on a journey and build trust, and then gently take them over to, how about if we did it this way? And showing people that things work is always more effective than telling them. It's just getting them to the point where you can get enough leeway to try stuff and show them it working. It can be difficult. I've experienced pushback from, similar to what you said, people that just are used to working a different way. So it can be a bit of a shock to people when there aren't loads of big documents flying around that no one wants to read. But some people, it's rare, but most people don't, but some people do enjoy writing big documents and reading them.
I hate it.
So do I. So do I. So most people do, and I find that I think the people that lean towards that, so that enjoy writing those big documents, generally, most of the other people don't enjoy that and therefore don't read them. So it's almost like it's being written for the person writing it rather than the audience. So I think the pushback or the challenges are from people used to working other ways, and they think that their way is the only way. So I suppose similar to what you had, really, just in reverse.
I'm going to sound like a bit of a broken record, I think, to a few regular listeners, if there are any. When it comes to digesting large documents, I recently wrote a blog post on this, and something that you could probably find very, very useful is a tool called Notebook LM. It's a Google product built to basically take a load of large documentation, whatever you're doing, if it's about business process, technical stuff within your business, or if you're doing research for an exam or you're a student at university, you can put in all of the context, all of the different material that you've got. Then you can basically ask it questions specifically about that material. So it will use the web, like it's built on Gemini, so it will use the web for some bits if you've got additional questions. But it uses your material first and foremost to give you the answers to your questions.
Right.
And so I've tried it at work where I have basically taken an entire Confluence space, uploaded it, and then I can just ask it questions about the business process and it gives it back. And for research purposes, said I've written a blog post on it because I've been doing a management qualification, and I've been using it for this, and it's been the entire, revolutionized the way that I learn. You can upload all of your material, and you can get it to generate a podcast. Honestly, it blew my mind. Generate a podcast takes about 10 minutes. The tool creates like a 30-minute podcast of a man and a woman talking about everything that you've put in.
Wow.
I found it insane.
You'll have to try an automated episode of this.
I feel like people will hate me for doing that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have, some plans in the future with like shorts and things. I want to be able to upload some information, train it on my voice or whatever, and just kind of try and get a short out there. But yeah, it's been incredible. So if you want to learn more about Notebook LM, have a look at the blog post that I've written on the SQL Squared website, and
I'll have a look. I'll check it out. Yeah, I'm interested to know, because it sounds like you could probably affect some of that in AI. Not, as in I'm thinking like ChatGPT or something. You could probably upload all the information.
I think what it's built for, so you can within ChatGPT you can like upload a single document or upload a certain amount of document in context for that specific prompt. But within Notebook LM you can upload a suite of information. I uploaded I think like 50 plus web pages and journals and things like that, all different things, different topics, and it's just a chat interface like ChatGPT, and you can ask it questions about the documentation or ask it to summarize certain topics and areas of research, things like that. And it supports all sorts of documentation, whether it be web links so it can access web pages, or just text that you've scraped, books, journals, PowerPoints, things like that.
Wow, that's got uses, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely give it a try. But I've mentioned it on the podcast before, so I'll put a link to it in the description as well, and to the blog post. And yeah, if any of the listeners out there haven't used it, I'd definitely give it a try. I think we've been over like why working in an agile way is beneficial, and a couple of challenges that people need to overcome. We both work in the recruitment industry. I think you've worked in the recruitment industry your whole career, and I have to this point as well. But obviously we're heavily in the data and the what actually runs that sales journey, and how we help people, how we help the business basically make money. And it's an area that I'm fascinated by, I suppose. How it's being leveraged. So I want to know, have you got any insights that you can provide to people on kind of how data is leveraged within the recruitment industry, and kind of how it makes an actual difference to the way a business is run and the money that they make and the industries that they work in?
So yeah, we've both been in it a while, haven't we? And it's changed a lot over the years. It was very straightforward and simple in hindsight, how it used to be, in terms of person puts CV on job board, goes into list, consultant rings through candidates, CVs go to client, some result in interview, some result in placement. There's more going on now. It's way more complicated. But I think, like with all data, you need a human at the end to take an action off the back of it for it to make a difference. So it's just really like to your point, pointing out areas where there might be a bottleneck, and it's like, if you just hire another person in this department, suddenly you're going to get the throughput way, way better. So data can just point out things that you could make a slight tweak, and it's going to be much better in terms of, flow through a process. So I'd say with recruitment, you're probably familiar with these kind of concepts, but there's 3 things you need to be good at recruitment or to be successful in your process. You've got I'd call it probably activity. So as in, if you imagine it was another analogy, going to the gym to try and get, say, bigger legs. If you just go once a month and do 1 rep, say leg days once a month. Yeah, if you just go and do 1 rep, nothing else is going to happen, is it?
You're describing my gym journey right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got experience with this.
Yeah.
A painful example, but yeah, if you only do, say, 1 rep of anything, it's not going to make a difference. So there's the activity level. You need people to be doing enough. Then there's the quality. So if you're supposing you are going every day and you're doing 100 leg presses, but they're all terrible and sloppy and not actually really doing what it needs to do, you're not hitting the muscle in the right way, they're not going to give you the best result either. So the quality of what you're doing. And the last one is the targeting. So again, you could be going and doing 100 every day, but if you're on the shoulder press instead of the leg press, you're probably not going to get bigger legs. So that's the gym lesson.
I love that analogy.
In recruitment, if you swapped it for, say, calls or something like that, any activity that recruiters need to do, then it's got to be enough calls to make a difference. Quality calls, because if they're all terrible, doesn't matter how many you do, and the targeting, because if you're doing loads of calls and they're all amazing, but you're ringing the wrong people or the wrong clients, then you're not going to get anywhere. So it needs those 3 things. Yeah. And data can help with all of them. Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I've worked with telephony data quite a lot, so it's a good analogy that I understand. I think, especially within a sales focused business, with the data that you get, you have to provide insight from that data. You know, the business has to gain some sort of insight for either improved efficiency or improved opportunities, and then also, telling the salespeople what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, what are the effective processes that they're running, and the activity that they're doing. So yeah, I don't know if that's the same for other sales-based organizations outside of recruitment. I assume that a lot of it is shared. I don't know if there's any listeners out there that work. I don't know. Gosh, think of a sales-based organization. But within those industries, if you've got any similar experiences, I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, I mean, insight, I think, is the main. Oh, let's just say word of the day.
It could be, couldn't it? Yeah, could be word of the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. If you're not providing an insight and therefore like a call to action for someone that can do something about it, whatever it is, there's not really any point, is there? If you're just looking at data and not ending up with an insight, you kind of just looking at data for the sake of it. But yeah, like you say, an insight could be, team leader, did you know that all your team are doing a high level of calls, but this one person isn't? They can then go and act on it, can't they? Yeah. And the same with all the other stuff, the targeting, all the quality as well. So you can get data on all that stuff easier and more readily available than ever now.
Yeah, you can. There's lots of additional tools and processes, especially within the cloud, and to make the most of your data and to more easily gather useful insights.
Yeah, there's some companies that's their whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is in the whole recruitment process, this bit here, we've got that now. Don't worry, just plug us in.
Yeah.
And we'll give you insights on your data in that area, and it'll change your business and change your world.
Yeah. Well, I suppose what in your experience over the last few years, what are some innovative ways that you've seen data used to optimize the recruitment process? I don't know, it could be anything from candidate sourcing and CVs to actually making placements and sales.
We've probably looked at similar things over the years, I'd imagine, me and you. But we go to the Recruitment Expo in London every year just to see what's going on. And unsurprisingly, it's getting more and more AI heavy over the years, and therefore probably more exciting. But there's stuff along the whole process that companies are now using data for insights, and you just have to plug them in. You just can't plug them all in. Is the problem?
Pick and choose.
Yeah, the ones that spring to mind. There's things like there's Woo that they do career tracking. I don't know if you've come across these, but career tracking. So plugs into your CRM, and supposing I've placed a team of, let's say, SQL developers under you, David, at X, this monitors, I assume via probably LinkedIn or similar.
Yeah, scrape some websites.
Yeah, exactly. It must do. But when you move, so you move to Y, I would get alerted in my CRM, and it would say, David's just moved to Y. Maybe give him a ring. I give you a ring and say, hi, David, are you growing a new team at the new place?
Yeah.
And you can see how that's a warm call. And
yeah, opportunity analysis.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Like, that didn't used to be there 5 years ago, as far as I can tell. There's stuff like, there's quite a few from what I've seen, like Quill, that do we can take all the kind of donkey work away from the consultant for you. So just leave them doing the selling, the bit that they're good at, that we need the human to do. Anything that we don't need the human to do, we'll take off you. So their thing is like AI, note-taking, scheduling, all that stuff. So that the bit that recruiters probably aren't that good at and don't like doing.
Mm-hmm. No, I suppose, notes is a good thing to cover, because at my company, we've recently introduced a new telephony system called Dialpad. They have, automated note taking, AI analysis of your calls and transcriptions, and then taking notes and putting them into the CRM against the person that you've called, for example. And so that takes away a lot of the effort of keeping track of the calls, the notes, action points off the back of them, things like that. But we have found some issues with it. Maybe it's not up to the standard that we want, or again, context is a big thing. When you've got a siloed call, there's no context of everything else that's kind of going on around it.
No,
I know context is becoming a huge thing within the AI and automation world. I don't know if you've used or heard of MCPs, model context protocols.
No.
I've been doing a lot of research and work into them. I've developed my own MCP server for SQL Server over the last few months.
So an MCP for DMG.
Yeah, so an MCP, it stands for Model Context Protocol. So when you're running a custom model, or one that you've that you pay for, say it's Copilot within Copilot for Business or Copilot for Enterprise within Azure, or you've got a model running through AI Foundry, you can spin up a server or Docker instance, for example, of what's called an MCP server, and that acts as a bridge or a gateway between your AI agent and something else. So, for example, I've done successful proof of concepts with SQL Server where you can spin up a model in AI Foundry that you can, say, put on your internal CRM sites, ask it questions, and interface with your SQL Server environment in natural language. So you can say, who is the highest permanent biller of 2024, for example? And there's a big application that sits in a Docker container behind it that takes that information and translates it into, okay, what tables do I need to look at? What information do I need to look at? And it can learn from all of those processes as well.
And could you just then give that front end to a CEO and
exactly
do the bit in between?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of work. Like, obviously, what I've just done is a proof of concept. So it was literally like, can I get access to it? Can I make it work? But I think there's a lot of work needed to make it accurate and make it reliable for your business. And your data and your data structures need to be in an AI ready state, which I can comfortably say ours are not at the moment.
Yeah,
There's a lot of work that needs to go in behind it. It's not just magic.
no, that's it. Unless they're in an AI ready state, you kind of open to a mistake popping up, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And if that process provides mistakes, especially to senior leadership, it can quickly become untrusted and have all of your work, become invalid because they don't want to use it.
Yeah. Again, it needs human check, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it does.
Unless you're going to make someone look silly, or unless it's in a safe place where you could accept a mistake. One in 20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it depends on those 20 questions that you may ask the AI. They're not all going to be of similar importance or urgency. No. And you could get the point where you've got an important question that you're asking that has a big impact on the next move that you make, and it could be that one that returns a far from true answer or figure that you haven't catered for. So yeah, it's simple. It's not simple. It was simple enough to get set up, but it would be extremely hard to master and get right. But there's things like a lot of developers out there will already know of these MCPs, but GitHub have an MCP, for example. So this massively improved my workflow efficiency. The agent within Visual Studio Code, you can, on your local Docker environments, you set the Docker hub on your machine, pull the GitHub MCP from the GitHub repo, deploy it to the Docker instance on your machine, and your agent that runs on your machine through Visual Studio Code now has access to whatever GitHub repository you make available. And so it can do everything from creating branches, making commits, assigning work to people, creating issues, adding comments to issues, reviewing code that people have put on PRs, creating PRs, merging everything, the whole process end to end. And so my due management workflow become much better and much more streamlined. Documentation on issues that need to be there, PRs with full descriptions of exactly what's been implemented and why. It's much better than I would be able to write myself, and I don't have to write it in the first place and spend the time on it. So it's good.
And do you still need to do the human check? Do you still need to? Can you trust it?
Yeah, you still need to do the human check. One of the things that you can do, I mean, it's a bit outside of data, but say you're working on a C# or Python or Node or whatever. If you have a unit test environment, you can create the unit tests as well to confirm that it works. So there's still a testing element to it. And I can talk to you a lot more about it later because I'm working on my own project that I'm not going to announce at the moment because I want it to be something that I do in the future, which is kind of fully being built by these agent coding processes. As I said, I've done a lot of work and research on it over the last few months.
I thought you may have something going on.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if you didn't.
No, I need to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah.
One last thing that I want to talk about within the recruitment space. Obviously, we all know that data security is a major thing within any organization, especially people that sell to people and personal data and things like that. Are there any ethical considerations or challenges that you've come across when managing data within recruitment, and kind of how have you overcome those in the past?
Well, as you say, it's people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good recruitment. So it's personal data, so it's different than if you were selling something else. So yeah, there's the considerations and the challenges of probably GDPR related. So as in making it compliant, and that the legal side of it. And then the other side of it is making it fair for the people, the actual people, humans involved, so that they know what you're collecting on them and why and what you're doing with it, and that they're okay with it and they understand that there's something in it for them. So that whole thing really. Plus the insights you get from your data are only as good as what's going in, aren't they? So if your data's a mess, like you've alluded to, you're going to get a mess of insights. It might be nonsense. Yeah. So something that springs to mind is, it's probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, but Amazon had an AI internal tool doing their recruiting process, or at least part of it.
I didn't know that. No.
And they just eventually they binned it off because of its bias. So what they'd done was they trained it on 10 years worth of CVs, and then just gone, right, off you go and do new. And it had a bias towards males, because the 10 years of CVs that it had been trained on were mostly male.
Yeah, it got a lot more male applicants.
Yeah. So in the end, they had to bin it. So that's probably an example of where you've got to be careful with this stuff. You've got to be careful what you point AI at and what data you're looking at. If you're looking at messy data, you're going to get messy insights.
Yes, it's one of the considerations with third-party tools as well, right? I mean, you said you go to the recruitment conference, and there's a lot of it's become very AI heavy. I kind of wonder what challenges that they've all overcome to be able to sell that to the recruitment industry and to get involved with it, and kind of what they've done differently to overcome those challenges. It's not something I have an answer to, but
no, I'm not necessarily sure it's their problem or interest either. If they sell that product and then you make bad decisions off the back of it because of your data being a mess, I don't know whether it's on them or not. It's probably on you.
Probably, yeah.
I know. I've got a first-hand story from someone who's told me that they tried plugging in a third-party tool. I actually can't remember the name of it now, but it was a sales-based one, and it was, give us your top 5 salespeople, and then we'll learn what a top salesperson looks like at your company, and then we'll run that model against everyone else at the company who's in sales, and kind of tell you who your next stars are going to be. And so it sounds worth a look, doesn't it, on the face of it? But what they found was it just took the bias that had already been there, but kind of invisible.
Made it worse.
And made it worse and visible. So they didn't use it in the end, because they didn't want that. They wanted to be more diverse and inclusive. So they didn't go with it. But it's just an example of the third party was doing its job.
Yeah.
It was doing what it said on the tin.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, just a quick interlude from me. I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It greatly helps me reach a wider audience, and you get notified of episodes as soon as they are released. Also, if you're a data and AI professional with insights to share, please get in touch. I'd love to have you on the show. Head over to the SQL Squared website for more, and if you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer. Leave a comment or email me on mailbag@sqlsquared.co.uk. Back to the show.
And Mike, we've covered some incredibly insightful and important topics so far. I want to do a bit of a lighter tone to the next section, a quick fire round, something new that I've put in. And I just kind of want you to give me your immediate and kind of brief thoughts on these prompts. Like, you're my own personal AI. And I just kind of want to know your thoughts, just straight off the top of your head. Cloud computing is a very big part of this podcast. I'm not sure whether or not you guys have moved fully into the cloud yet, or whether or not you're still kind of hybrid. But what's your cloud provider of choice?
Azure. In a word. My reasoning would be because I know people that could help me with it. So, yeah.
Azure is really big within the data community as well. Go to a lot of meetups, network with a lot of people, and pretty much everybody is mostly Azure.
The support's there, and if you walk into a meetup and go, "I've got an issue with Azure," people will come running. So sympathise, tell you about theirs. Yeah.
Next, what's the most underrated soft skill as a data developer?
Probably all of them, isn't it? But if I had to pick one, communication, I'd say.
Okay.
Because again, if you've got a great insight, but you can't communicate it, or you can't understand what the business is asking you to do, you've kind of got no chance. So communication.
That's very important. Yeah. I mean, data analysts, for example, they've got to have really good communication skills to, like I said, to be able to provide that analysis, to be able to provide that insight to the business in a way that they understand, and kind of be a translator between the data and the business stakeholders.
Yeah.
If you weren't in tech, what would your dream job be?
The first thing that springs to mind is this behind me. Yeah, probably playing that or similar in one way or another. Yeah, something in music, I would say.
Amazing. I actually find I'm always surprised by how many people within the tech space like music, like the music industry. I think like nearly about 50% of my team at the moment are also musicians. Like they're in bands, or they produce music, as a hobby.
Interesting.
I just found that to be a bit of a link.
There's a blog post there somewhere, isn't
there?
Yeah. I reckon there must be a study. I think there's probably is something in it, as in I can see similarities between kind of how I can see how maths and music would go together. So, worth a look, I think. Definitely. Worth a research project.
Yeah. And last one, is there one piece of tech that you wish existed right now but doesn't?
I would like to have the BFG from Doom 2. That, if you're familiar with that, that'd be quite a fun piece of tech to have if it was available. But assuming not, teleporter.
A teleporter?
Yeah.
You just get around anywhere instantly.
Exactly. I like travel. I just don't like the bit in between. If you see what I mean.
So you dematerialize on the spot and then rematerialize on the Costa del Sol.
Yeah, exactly that. That's exactly that. Yeah, you read my mind.
Yeah. In a sunbed with a margarita.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, if you could give me the rest of it, I wouldn't be bothered about which drink it was.
Oh, fair enough.
Didn't have to be a margarita. But yeah, that kind of thing. Who knows? Who knows? It may be coming at some point.
I love my margaritas at the moment. I don't know what it is about them. I've been making them a lot at home too. I've been putting maple syrup in instead of simple syrup, which I find just gives it a bit of more of a deeper flavour. But that is a bit of a tangent.
I don't think I've ever had one.
You've never had a margarita?
Don't think so.
Well, no. I'll have to, invite you round at some point and make you one of my margaritas.
Yeah, I've had a margarita pizza. Is that cool? But no, I don't think
very, very different things. That's an idea for Crazy Pedro's, though, isn't it? Just try and get, change the margarita pizza to be a drink style margarita.
Yeah, there's at least like a margarita site that they can do there, isn't there? There's some kind of marketing thing. Yeah.
All right. This kind of final topic then. We've been over, a lot of the AI stuff. We've chatted about recruitment and usage of data and insights and analysis. Things I always like to focus on this podcast is the future. We were very, very future thinking. We're big idea people. Wanting to get people interested in the world of data and the industry as a whole. I want to speculate about what the future holds for data in the industry. But looking ahead, I suppose, in your research conferences that you've been to, insights that you've got, is there any technologies that you're really excited about and the use cases for them?
Good question. I think the one that springs to mind that I'm excited to see how it plays out and progresses over the next few years is vibe coding. This thing where you alluded to it earlier, but where in theory you don't need to know how to code to be able to manipulate data and get insights. You could do it yourself. As say a CEO, you wouldn't need, in theory, you wouldn't need a data person in between. So I'm excited to see how it plays out and see in 5 years what is actually going on. Is there a mess that data professionals are being brought in to sort out from CEOs that have been directly using vibe coding to write stuff that then has turned out to be not secure or maintainable? Or has it just gone perfectly? All those little flaws have been ironed out, and that is now what's happening. And instead of a team of data professionals, you've got an AI expert just kind of sat in the middle,
helping everyone out.
Maybe doing human checks. Don't know. It's going to be interesting and exciting to find out.
That would be my answer as well. There was a meetup that I went to that had a talk and a demonstration a couple of months ago. And it's the first time where I actually became scared for people's jobs. I mentioned AI Foundry earlier on Azure. The talk that happened was the guy basically wanted to develop an application end-to-end, had a back-end database, a back-end API, a middleware service layer, and then a front-end application on the back of it for access on the web. He created 3 AI agents within AI Foundry. One was a product manager, the other was a tech leader, and the other was a business expert. And so he gave these 3 AI agents the knowledge that they needed and basically access just links to certain documentation, best practices and processes. Then had a GitHub repository set up, which was basically with a README file, which was just very, very basic and high level about what he wanted to implement. And he, on Visual Studio Code, using the agent with Visual Studio Code, he had his MCP stuff set up to GitHub, to AI Foundry. And he just pressed, make this application for me. And it just went away and did it. Like the AI agents were talking to each other, basically sending, when he expanded them, what looks like emails to each other. He even gave them names and personalities, and they were calling each other by their different names, and they were responding in the personality types that they're saying. And so, by the end of it, he had a fully working application that matched the high-level spec and the MVP that he wanted. And how was it done? I was absolutely stunned. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
I imagine you needed a margarita after that.
I did, yeah.
I can see why that would worry someone, because the bit I've not heard anyone do before is that thing of creating the personas. I've not heard anyone do that. So that's like you say, the concern about fearing for jobs. He's literally done it in that example.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to have a look at AI Foundry. I mean, things like Confluence, for example, you can take an agent, a business expert, an SME, and give it access and train it on all of your Confluence documentation, be a business and business process and how it all works. And then you can just go to that agent and ask it questions on how it needs to work. So while you're developing, while you're vibe coding, you can go to an agent to ask questions about how something needs to be implemented, rather than going to a person, having a meeting, or having a majorly drawn out process. I kind of answered it in addition to your stuff, but it was mad, and that's where we're at now. Currently, you listen to some podcasts, industry experts, things that Microsoft, OpenAI, and Google are actually creating, and they all say that what you've got now is nowhere near where we're actually at, and we just need to it needs to be released future in a way that doesn't cause a load of additional harm. Yeah, I mean, even companies like Meta have set up super intelligence teams, seeing them paying tens of millions of dollars to OpenAI employees to poach them to get them to work on this
Seen that.
super intelligence
Yes.
team.
Sign-on bonuses.
Yeah. So they think that super intelligence is less than 5 years away, which is mental, absolutely mental. Just sci-fi, isn't it? Science fiction.
It is. And the bit I'm intrigued in is kind of how long that's going to take. And the example you've just given, I can imagine that looking amazing in a demo and terrifying.
Yeah.
But then it's like you say, well, if he then goes and deploys that, is it maintainable? Is it secure? If it's not, is it anyone's? Whose fault is it? Who's going to fix it? So there's all those considerations, but it is interesting and it's exciting.
It is. You have to have someone who's a senior technical person or an advisor to review it all and make sure that it matches the coding standards and processes and that it's secure and all of that. Which is why I mentioned earlier about juniors, pros and cons. Going to be harder for junior people to get into the industry. They're going to have to make use of AI to keep up with the AI. So for a message for the entire audience out there is, if you're junior, if you're in university doing computer science, looking at a career or a job in data, AI, or development, like, have no choice. You have to use it, otherwise you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, you have to lean into it.
Yeah, you just got to go
like
full force and make the most of it, because I think that's the only way that in the modern day or within 5 years that they end up becoming successful with it all. Because if you don't, you're just going to fall so far behind the efficiency levels of those that use it.
I agree. It's got to be a collaboration mindset rather than a competitor mindset. Because if you're going for a junior role and you're kind of pitting yourself against AI, the AI's going to win.
Yeah,
because it's enthusiastic, confident, keen. Probably makes the odd mistake, but probably so do you as a junior. So you want to see it as a collaboration, don't you? Where you can use it to do some of the donkey work for you, but you're still doing the strategic thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see there was a study recently from the University of Amsterdam about one of the reasons you still need the human check. This is one of the things that reassures me. Something that AI can't do at the moment anyway is navigation as well as humans. So the test they did, or the study they did, was if you put an environment in front of a human. So if you imagine an actual scene where you've got a river going across, you've got a bridge, you've got a path winding up a mountain. When you show that to a human, the human doesn't just see the things, the river, the bridge, the mountain. Without trying, you automatically navigate a path to get. You go, I could go over the bridge. I could walk around that path and I could get up the mountain to the top. Humans do that instinctively. AI struggles with it. So AI sees the things. It doesn't do the mapping out, the navigation bit. So
yeah, so I suppose that's a big area of improvement, especially for like humanoid robots and things like that, or the stuff that's being built to replace transportation, and you've got to kind of go through obstacles like that and make decisions on the fly.
Exactly. For my teleporter, probably going to need to sort that bit out.
Yeah,
navigation. So that's something that gives me hope, or makes me think, well, you still need the human chat. There's still things that AI can't do. Now, whether in 5 years AI can do that, or whether it's just one of them things and it's not going to be able to, we'll see. I'm sure someone's working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I think we're towards the end then. I haven't got anything else to go through, so I'm not sure. Have you got any closing remarks or any additional discussion points that you want to go over?
Only thank you for having me on. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome.
Usually I'm sort of, people try and stop me talking about this stuff. So to be encouraged to do it is
people,
a delight. So thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. So yeah, and thank you for joining me on the podcast. I know it's been a while coming, and I definitely hope to have you on again sometime in the future in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's another podcast, we can maybe let's get back together in 3 years' time and talk about how this has all developed since the last recording. But your insights that you've given today on your career journey, Agile and Scrum, data and recruitment, the discussions on what we think the future of AI would be have been absolutely invaluable to me, and I'm sure they'll be invaluable to the people listening as well.
Thank you very much. Put me in for 3 years' time.
Yeah.
Can we do it again?
Lastly, thank you to all our listeners, for tuning in to another thought-provoking episode. If you found this conversation as engaging as we did, please remember to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your network, wherever your network, X, LinkedIn, wherever. You can find all the relevant links and handles in the show notes below, and to connect with us or Mike on social media. That information will always be there. And if you want to visit our website for more resources, go to www.sqlsquared.co.uk. And if any of you have any questions or any discussion points that you'd like to cover in the podcast, or you just want to get in contact with me, please send me an email at mailbag@sqlsquared.co.uk, or fill in the contact form on the website. It's totally up to you. So until next time, keep exploring and keep innovating. Thank you so much, Mike. See you again sometime soon.
A pleasure. Thank you very much, David.
Cheers. Bye-bye.